So welcome to the 4th edition of the St. John's International Circus Fest. Welcome to a night at the circus!
The first part of the show is really where we're trying to create intimate moments between artists and the audience, where there will be lots of artists actually looking you in the eye and doing something just for you.
There's a fabulous new exhibit opening just right over here.
So we're trying to create relationships between the artist and the audience more by eye contact and giving them little moments that feel that they're just for them.
Rooms is the largest cultural facility in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
The Rooms is Newfoundland's museum, archive, wonderful architecturally styled building that looks out over the city.
The Rooms is a really important cultural center for us.
The Rooms was one of those venues that was a dream. Like every time you walk in there with the height, especially me, like I go to a restaurant, I look up at the ceiling to see if I could hang something there. I'm always looking for venues. That one is just, it's iconic here in the city. You can kind of see it from everywhere. It's beautiful, full of windows, the view. Yeah, it's kind of like the venue already speaks through. Just walking into that is already like spectacular.
And at the Rooms, we share stories of over 9,000 years of history. And we do that through a collection of artifacts, artworks, and archival material. We have millions of specimens in our collections.
You imagine circus on top of that and live music and so.
We have to do a show in here. It's screaming for it. I mean, the beams, everything.
We approached them. They thought it was a great idea. And it's been a long, back and forth negotiation, again, in a non-traditional space to figure out how to do it, but here we are.
So when Benny Malone approached us, I have to admit, I gasped at the beginning. While we certainly had thought about perhaps putting a whale specimen up in our rafters or a boat, the thought of an aerialist hanging from our rafters had never crossed my mind. So at first I thought, oh my goodness, is this even possible and what's involved? And it was kind of scary, I think. But after I gave it some further thought and we talked about it as a team, we got very, very excited.
So I mean, this space, it's beautiful, but it's tricky. As it has 4 or 5 different levels. There's stairs anywhere. There's little hidden corners. There's this huge high ceiling that we have. So the crowd in the beginning, it's moving through the space that they know as a museum with different eyes because we are forcing them to see it with different eyes.
We applied to Canadian Heritage. They had a grant for support for cultural arts workers, and you could apply for a lot of money, but 50% of it had to be to employ artists. And Benny and I made that grant, and we were like, we'll do you one better. 68% is going to artists, because that's what we're all about. So we got the grant.
Thanks to Canadian Heritage.
They really took an interest in it. So they became a really good supporter for that particular project, and I really got to say, it wouldn't have happened without them. And so, that was kind of visionary on their side, and I think it's going to pay off big time now.
First of all, it was something new that we were doing to the festival, and second of all, what was super interesting to them is employing a lot of people to work, artists and technicians, so that's a big part of what we got the grant for, was to provide work for people.
There's going to be artists all over the space, performances that you really have to look for in areas. It's not going to be announced necessarily. You have to be open-minded to actually go and discover a performance that lasts maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and then as quick as it started, it will disappear again. So the more you move around, the more you will discover the performances of the immersive part, which eventually will lead into a more classic performance with an MC, with lights, with sounds, where there will be real acts or small shows that are happening.
We're going to fill that whole building with circus performers that night, and music, local musicians. There's going to be a VIP reception, and it's just going to be a great night of unexpected delights, we hope. I used to keep calling it the Circus Palace. We're going to have a Circus Palace on the hill. So that's really innovative, and anytime you do a non-traditional venue, of course, it's challenging, and so that's the challenge we took on, and it's really coming together.
I think for museums and art galleries of the future, I think we have to look at ways of getting away from what we consider to be traditional activities. I think we have to look at what we are. We are community spaces, we can be community resources. We have to look at ways that we can animate contemporary art and historical artifacts and archival materials. And I think circus performance is another form of performing arts and another form of contemporary arts that complements what we do.
So that's what we did. We opened up to the public that the rooms is open and is engaging and actually wants people. They want people in there exploring and using the art rooms and enjoying it.
Circus is art. Like, we're bringing a different form of art that doesn't have a place in this museum yet into the building. We're giving it a one-night exhibition of.
I think it works well for Canadian heritage too, because there was over 100 people involved working on that show. There's an economic turnaround for a production that size, so it works for them too.
We have individual artists from Canada, from the US, from Europe, so the lineup is pretty spectacular.
This circus event for the rooms, and more importantly for the community, I think is going to bring magic, and it is going to inspire, and I think it's going to be something that this city is going to remember for a long time to come.
Thank you for being here tonight with us. I would like to thank Patrimoine Canada, Canadian Heritage. Thank you very much. So, this is the end of our night at the circus. Thank you so much for coming tonight. A special thanks to the rooms to have welcomed us here tonight. Thank you, the rooms. Thank you to the festival, St. John's International Circus Fest organization. Thank you to all the volunteers and hidden